Fancy. I'm done. Thank you for coming to the talk. It was pretty sick, right? You let me know when we're good, man. Check mic 1, 2. UFOs are real. How is everybody doing? Good. Has anybody ever seen me give a talk before? No. Ooh, yeah, a little bit. Y'all are in for a treat. Can I move around, or do I got to stand here like a bump on a log? Oh. All right, I won't move. I'll try not to move. I like to move. All right, so we got 25 minutes. I'm the last talk of the day in this room. I might stay for a little bit longer. I don't know. It depends on how I feel, right? I'm a little tired. I came from Vegas. I was at reInvent. I've been traveling all week. And we're here at Commit Your Code. And I don't know about you, but Danny and team has put on an amazing event. So huge shout out to Commit Your Code. I want everybody to applaud so they can hear us in the next room and over. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, I love it. Thank you to Commit Your Code. This is the official hashtag for the event. So if you are on Blue Sky or Twitter, it will always be Twitter. It will never be X. This is the hashtag that we are using. This hashtag was trending yesterday. So we are kicking butt and taking names. Let's keep that going to the end of the day. We want a year 2. You let Danny know we need a year 2. He's not going to want to hear that, but we need a year 2. So Commit Your Code is the official hashtag for the event. I also would love for you to use this one too. If you follow me on Blue Sky or Twitter, anytime I talk about the developer community or anything dev related, I guess you could say, I always use the hashtag developer community. Just a good way for me to track the engagement, see what y'all are doing if we don't directly follow each other, right? So if you are on Blue Sky or Twitter, if you could throw hashtag developer community on there, I would appreciate that. This is me. My name is Chris DeMars. You can catch me on Salt and Burnham on Twitter, chrisdemars.net. On Blue Sky, I'm also, I knew they were going to get a hold of these files. So this information's been redacted. Just kidding. I'm a senior developer advocate. I work at DigitalOcean. Is everybody familiar with DigitalOcean? And you love DigitalOcean? Yes, you do. You love DigitalOcean. Get out. There's an exit right there. We are like your one-stop shop platform as a service company. In this demo, I'm not trying to sell anything, but I am going to be using App Platform and DO to deploy this app. So we're going to have a little fun doing that. I also believe in cryptids and Bigfoot. I also believe in ghosts. And everybody is here to learn about UFOs. I also believe in UFOs, UAPs, and USOs. So one question I love to ask everybody, does anybody believe in UFOs? Right? Yeah? Okay. What about ghosts? Bigfoot? Other cryptids? Mothman? Mothman is my favorite cryptid. Straight up. Chupacabra? The Fresno Nightcrawler? I can keep going. We can keep going. Dogman, Beast of Bray Road, we can have a lot of fun. So we're here to talk about UFOs, UAPs, USOs, and the like. But first things first, the talk is called Close Encounters of the Data Kind, Exploring UFO Sightings with MongoDB and NextJS. But first things first, like I was saying, I do want to talk about a little bit of UFO, UAP history, sightings, and abductions, to kind of lay the framework for what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be deploying, and how you can take the data that you get out of your books or even ChatGPT or that you're researching online, compiling that together, ingesting it, and then being able to deploy that to the cloud with just a little sleek UI. Does anybody remember July 1947?
I was there.
You were there? Okay. I thought that was you, Mac Brazel. So 1947 was the official Roswell incident crash. It happened between June, July-ish. Something, we don't know what it is. We might know what it is, and how would they keep that secret? Something crashed in a field in Roswell, Mexico, about 17-ish miles away from Mac Brazel's ranch. He went and he discovered a bunch of foil type things. It was pretty gnarly. Called the Air Force. Air Force came in, sectioned everything off. One of the pieces that they found that they were considering a weather balloon was a foil. And this foil, you could crumple it up into a ball and let it go, and it would go back to its original shape. It was extremely malleable. It was one of those things, but this was a weather balloon. So that kind of sets the context for this. July 1947, Roswell. Is anybody familiar with the Betty and Barney Hill story? 1961. So Betty and Barney Hill, first documented abduction case. The story goes that they were coming back from vacation. They were driving back to their house in New Hampshire. They saw a UFO. It kind of went away. They kept going down the road a little bit. It came back. Barney got out of the car. Next thing they knew, they were back at their house, but their watches didn't work. They lost track of time. There were imprints all over the vehicle. There was a weird chalky type stain on Betty's dress. And what makes this even cooler is that something presented Betty with a star map. Now, Betty is not a ufologist. She's not a physicist. She's not someone that studies the planets in the star system. Something gave her a map in her mind of a star system. She drew it out. It was given to a couple ufologists, and it was mapped perfectly to the Zeta Reticuli system. So they say if you ever hear about grays, the grays, they're from the Zeta Reticuli system, or reticulans. So that's really interesting. There's a great book called Captured. It's about that thick. It's in my paranormal library. Really, really great book. There's a documentary on Discovery Plus too about the Betty and Barney Hill story. So if you check that out, it's pretty sweet. And then I want to talk a little bit about this one. This happened in Dexter, Michigan. By the way, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. If you couldn't tell, go Lions. We had a great game last night. Sorry, Green Bay. March 20th, 1966, something was sighted in Dexter, Michigan, which is close to Ann Arbor, if you know your Michigan geography. And if you don't know your Michigan geography, Ann Arbor and Dexter are right over here. I live over here. That's how we do it in the Midwest in Michigan. They brought in J. Allen Hynek. If you're familiar with J. Allen Hynek, he's a physicist, ufologist. They brought him in, working with the government, and he turned around and said, oh, it's just swamp gas. And everybody believed him. Well, it came out years later. A lot of people that saw the sighting said this was not swamp gas. There was something abnormal, unidentified, that we could not explain, but it was not swamp gas. So, a little backstory on three kind of big sightings and abduction stories. There's a bunch of them out there. You got the Rendlesham incident, and you got the Zimbabwe incident with the Ariel school kids. Tons and tons of cool stuff out there. I'm sure you wanted to hear about all that. I wanted you to hear about all that. It's hard to turn a 45-minute talk into a 25-minute because, like, that stuff matters, right? I'm a big proponent of history before you get into the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to talk about. But let's talk about the tech. So this app that I built, it uses NextJS, and if you're familiar with NextJS, it's a React framework for the web. It's pretty sweet. Built-in optimizations, dynamic HTML streaming, React server components, RSCs, route handlers, server actions. If you want to use it, this is the command you run in the terminal. npx create next app at latest. That'll pull down the latest version of Next, and you can start just building. Next up, we're going to be using Mongo, one of my favorite databases to use, because it's not really relational, not really at all relational. It's an object-style type of database. There's key-value pairs. JavaScript really in the middle, right? That's pretty much what it is. It's one of the world's most popular document databases. This is directly from Mongo's website. Jesse did not validate that, so I'm sure he will. He's probably like, of course it is. So it's document model, so it's pretty cool. Flexible schema, so you can move stuff around. Distributed and resilient. It horizontally scales, which is pretty cool. And then, last but not least, we're going to be using App Platform on DigitalOcean. And if you're familiar with DigitalOcean, like I was saying, it's a cloud for the whole entire journey, from everything that you need to do, right? We just recently, a few weeks ago, dropped our GPU droplets. So if you're in the AI ML space and you wanted to check that out, we have that to use. They're running on NVIDIA hardware. We have our managed database services. That's what I'm using in DO, is our managed Mongo database service. We also have Kafka, MySQL, Postgres. We have OpenSearch. It's a fully managed product as a solution, product as a service solution. So I could take a website, deploy it to the cloud, boom, I get a URL. You can take a custom domain, map that to it, kind of like you would if you were using Netlify or any other deployment platform. You can use whatever you want, right? It doesn't matter to me. I'm not here, like I was saying, I'm not here to sell this to you, but it's what I'm going to be using because it would be a little awkward if I tried to use AWS for this talk. Spaces object storage and block storage, that's pretty cool. You can take a lot of data, especially like images, documents, you can store it in the cloud that we offer, and you get a custom URL for that. and you can use that in your databases or if you're trying to serve up any images. And then we have our own Kubernetes offering called Docs, DigitalOcean Kubernetes. So if you're in that space, you might dig that. And with all of these three powers combined, we are. That was a Captain Planet reference. Oh, Captain Planet. With our powers combined, no. With all these things, we are going to take some UFO data, build out a UI, be able to deploy that to the cloud with a little bit of material UI mixed in, just to style it pretty quickly. This is what it's going to look like. It's just a very, very baseline type of UI card system. You got your cards here. There's a search, so you can filter the search, just a header, and then at the bottom, there is a footer that says Built with Love by DigitalOcean. So if you want to do this and you want to use the Mongo version of the Next app, this is how you do this. This is installing the Mongo integration. It's this right here. It's npx create next app -- example with MongoDB. That way it brings in all those Mongo dependencies, and you can just name it whatever you want, right? This mine's Close Encounters. Have that open, run it in VS Code or Sublime or whatever your text editor or IDE of choice is. Run it in the terminal, cd into that, npm install all the things. Hopefully you got good Wi-Fi, and then npm run dev, spin that up on localhost, and you'll have your next app, and you can start playing around with that and working on that. And we're also using Compass. So I'm using Compass to hold all the data. Has anybody used Compass before? Cool. So Compass, it's a free interactive tool for querying, optimizing, and analyzing your MongoDB data. Get your key insights. You can run queries. You can run AI queries. It's pretty cool. This is what it looks like. And like I was saying, it's a document database, right? So you have your key value pairs. You can add stuff to this. You can run various queries. You can have all your different databases here that you need. It's a really good way to hold all that data and then be able to bring that in to whatever platform that you're using, like if you were using DO. We also have to build a database. So this is how you build a database or set up the database in DigitalOcean's app platform, the Cloud Console. If you have an account, you go in. We have databases on the side. Create your database. This is a cool tool, by the way, Screen Studio. I love it. You can select your data center. We'll just leave it for New York. We're going to choose Mongo. And then we are going to go down basic. You can choose the different types of paid services. You can change the name of the cluster so you can keep things organized, because if you just leave it default like that, you leave all of them default, it's going to get confusing really quickly. So if you have a name, this one is Michigan DevFest. I spoke at Michigan DevFest a month or so ago. So this is just an example. I already created the database because we have the connection strings, and I don't want to show the connection strings on, here, especially tweeting these slides out. You'll be able to mess with all my stuff. You can get started. It starts creating and provisioning that database. It takes a minute. It's not going to do the whole entire thing while we're here. Come on, go down. I was going to 2x this. We're going to secure it. We're not going to secure the cluster. I'm not really concerned about that. As long as you don't have my stuff, you're good to go. We're going to change the connection parameter to connection string. And we're going to take that connection string, and then you're eventually going to take that connection string and you're going to paste it into Compass so you can connect, but you're also going to be using that connection string as your environment variable. Put that in the code. You also put that in the app console and the app platform as a global environment variable. That way everything is talking, everything can be connected, and you'll be hooked up to your database. So it's pretty sweet. This is what you do. You do a new connection, you just copy and paste your connection string there, save and connect, or save. And if everything works out, then you're going to connect and you're good to go. If you do some configuring on the DO side, it might block this from happening when you lock down your cluster, but there's IP issues and stuff like that, so that's why I didn't secure the cluster. It automatically connects. Ooh, I can't even see the time. There we go. This is kind of the structure. This is the structure of the app that I built. We have our components. That isn't like the React style, so you have your components in a folder. I like to make a components folder inside that folder of the component itself to keep everything separate. I'm an old school web developer, so I like keeping everything separate. I'm not a fan of CSS inside your markup and inside your JavaScript. Things should be separate. That's just my opinion. I'm old school. And we have our types. So we have our components, our pages, which is just the index.tsx. And then we have our types laid out. The MongoDB type comes directly from Mongo. The index comes directly from Mongo 2 and Next. And then the encounter type is just what I had to create. So this is the pages index. You just bring in a bunch of stuff from material. You're going to bring in your encounter card, which is the card component. And you bring in all your types. You bring in use state because we're going to be changing the state on search. We have this index here. So let me go back. We're just exporting a lot of the Git server-side props that comes from the Next and Mongo integration. You set up the collection. The client DB is called close encounters. The collection itself that's holding that data is called encounters. You add a find, a limit of 30. You return that with some props. And then you just catch some errors. So this is in the index.tsx. This really all comes directly from that command that you're running, the next Mongo command. And then this one is the actual information, right? So we are exporting a function called home. Above that, we are setting the search and the set search. We actually have the search component right there. So if it's lowercase, we're searching, we can do the incident name, we can search state, we can search the city that it's in, and that will filter down those examples for you if you're looking, if you have a big database, right? And then we're going to return that data. We have the head of, this is all material stuff. This is coming from material. So you have your title, which is UFO encounters and sightings, right? Your meta information, if you have any links like a favicon. We have our header right here, which is that green one at the top. That's a totally separate component. We set a container with material. We put the search bar in there. We create a box or the main component that's going to hold those encounter cards. And then we bring those in right here. We set a little bit of CSS grid. Love CSS grid. And then we just pull in those filtered encounters. And then that's just the footer, which you don't have to worry about. And then we have our header.tsx. It's very plain. You just bring in the app bar, the box, toolbox, typography, stuff like that from material. And then you create your header. You just create it. You create the function. You export it. You bring in the box, put your information in there, and that's just what it looks like. It's UFO encounters and abductions. It's kind of your standard header that is 100% width. And we have the search bar. So we bring in more material. And we just create the search bar. We have the box that has the CSS that's going to make that box work. We have the text field inside, and the text field has all the accessibility properties built into that component. I've walked away from the accessibility community for a little while. Big web accessibility advocate, traveled all over the world and talked about these things. But text field is already accessible, and it comes with already a label. And then just some typography at the bottom, just to say, hey, this is what this search bar is for. Use it at your own discretion. And that's what it looks like, right? Your standard text, you can type in it. It's got the little disclaimer at the bottom. Come on. There we go. And then we have the encounter card, which is the one piece that makes all of this up, right? The one piece that's consuming the data. We bring in all that material stuff. There's a lot of stuff for material. So if you're used to working with design systems and big monolithic things like that, there's tons of stuff. If you roll your own design system, I'm a big fan of rolling your own design system. That is one of those things. You bring that in. You bring in the encounter props from the types. That way you can structure that data that's coming in, and it's using TypeScript, so you kind of have to.
And you can do the research. The government will admit that it now exists. Don't know how it works.
Did you plant it?
Yeah, I was going to say that's a plan.
Did you plant it?
No. Like, I don't even know. Well, it failed, which that sucks. But hey, this is live coding, right? So let's try this.
Live deploying.
Live deploying. That's what. Yeah.
That's a higher stakes.
Has anybody else had encounter before? So people say it here. Let's being watched. No? Anybody ever see anything?
But I work at Walmart, so I see lots of it.
They are walking among us. So you have a good point.
But are they at Walmart?
Yeah.
probably not gonna work, which is a bummer because I literally just tested this yesterday morning.
Oh,
That's okay though, because we're having a good time talking about UFOs. It does work. I can show you.
Does this say on the console?
This is localhost. It works, right? So, like Roswell, we can do that. Pump this up a little bit. Eddie, if we wanted to search Zimbabwe, this is the Ariel School UFO sighting. This is a really good one. A group of kids at the Ariel School in Zimbabwe, they saw a UFO land. They saw unidentified beings. I think it was a group of 25 or 30 grade school kids. Right out back behind their school, they were playing, and it was recess. And they saw it, they didn't know what was going on, took off. 30 years later, they interviewed the same school kids, and they all still had the same exact story. You would think after 30 years it might change, right? It's like a game of telephone. Every single child that was spoken to, or when they were in school, now they're all in college, have kids or whatever, it was the same exact story the whole entire time. Throughout the whole entire 30 years, right? Or 20, 25 years later. So, but that's a good one. Phoenix Lights. Anybody familiar with the Phoenix Lights? Phoenix Lights is pretty sweet. Happened on my birthday in 1997. I was not born in 97, but my birthday is 313. Go Lions. So it happened on March 13th, 1997 in Phoenix, Arizona. A big Delta type craft that was lit up. People saw it all over the place. I also too believe the same evening Kurt Russell was also flying a plane and saw the Phoenix Lights over Phoenix, Arizona.
Is that what he saw? Is that the Manta?
I don't think so, just because that one has like space lights. What I saw had like straight lights going down the side of it.
Yeah, because the Delta like was kind of like this, but it was more of a triangle and not like that. It had lights kind of going all around it. So,
Okay.
but there's a bunch of them. The Rendlesham Forest. Anybody familiar with the Travis Walton incident? Fire in the Sky. You ever seen the movie Fire in the Sky from 1993? It's a creepy movie, but Travis, there was him and his friends. They all worked at like a logging company. They all worked in the forestry business. They were leaving the job site one night. Huge light ended up in the forest. There was a huge craft that was shining down. Travis got out of the vehicle to see what was going on. He got blasted back by the radiation or something. His friends split, and they said, "Oh no, we need to go back and get Travis." Went back. Travis was gone. He didn't show back up for 5 days. They found him full unclothed inside of a payphone. What are those things called?
Phone booth.
Phone booth.
There you go.
A phone booth. And he found some change in the ground, called his family. They went and picked him up. And to this day, he travels all over the world and he talks about what happened in his abduction and sighting, stuff like that. So, Travis Walton, that's a really, really good story. Did this deploy? No, it didn't. It failed. That's okay. You'll get the picture.
What are in the logs? The console logs.
So we don't have time for that. We tried. It's Men in Black. They didn't want me to do this. I'm tapped. I'm sure there's wonky stuff happening in Dallas, like the Marfa lights that happens in Texas. You know about the Marfa lights? We can talk about the Marfa lights. I love this picture. That's not me or my dog or anybody in my family, but it's pretty fresh. What did we learn? We learned how not to deploy UFO data because I'm being watched. We learned a little bit about UFO history. We learned a little bit about NextJS, MongoDB, Compass. I hope I made you proud, Jesse. DigitalOcean. If you ever want to use it, let me know. We can talk about these things. We can talk about UFOs if you want. And storing data in Compass using MongoDB, deploying that to the cloud. Thank you so much. That's the GitHub if you want to just keep continuing to add to this. I had this going through Hacktoberfest. Michigan DevFest was happening through Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is over now. But I had a buddy of mine, he was contributing to this, making it a little bit better. So if you want to, the code's out there, have fun. I want you to believe, I definitely believe. Thank you, enjoy the rest of the day.